All right, welcome to class, the first day of one of 2 days that we're going to review for your final exam. Before we do that, though, I do want to review some important senior information, okay, and just make sure that everybody's getting the information they need, because things can get a little complicated when you're graduating and not being on campus, you know, being online and stuff, just making sure that everybody knows what they need to do. So have you made your senior checkout appointment yet with your counselor? Give me a thumbs up if you have, thumbs down if you haven't and you need to, all right? So this is required to graduate. So this is where anything you've checked out from the school, you have to return. So like Chromebook or any equipment you've used. If you have any fines or anything you need to pay, get those paid. You get to pick up your cap and gown. They give you the tickets for graduation, and I believe that you like sign, like go over kind of your transcript and things like that, and just make sure everything's in order. Okay, so this has to be done. So if you haven't done it, if you go into our class, go to announcements. Okay, so right here, senior checkout info, required to graduate. This is where you make that appointment. So I posted this about 2 weeks ago, but again, if you haven't done it, then you find your counselor. Okay, these are the days available. Now, I don't know how many appointments they have left. So if you haven't done it, find what you can find. You have to physically go into the building, okay, into the NVLA building, and then bring anything, like I said, any fines, and take care of business. And it goes over kind of everything you're going to do. Okay, but you have to make that appointment. All right, any questions on that? Any questions on that? We're okay? All right, next. All right, sorry, let me get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, there is a mandatory graduation rehearsal meeting. How many of you have heard of this? Have we heard of this, or have we not heard of this? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. So if you're graduating, all right, again, I put this information in Canvas, all right. The meeting is a Google Meet, and it is on this Friday. So yes, I know it's on a final exam day. I did not make the meeting, okay. So I agree they picked a bad day, but it's from 9 to 10 a.m. It is required if you are graduating, okay. So it's a required Google Meet. So all you need to do is you just come into the announcement, and then the link is right there. Okay, you click on the link, and that will take you to the Google Meet. All right. So whatever you've got going on Friday and taking your exams and things, just you need to, you know, pencil this in. This is required attendance. Okay. It's Google Meet. So, I mean, you don't have to go anywhere for it, but you need to attend. Okay. They should just be probably going over like day of things for graduations, when you should arrive, how to get organized, things like that. Any questions on this? And again, that's posted in Canvas so that the link is right there. So you don't have to like run and try to find the link or anything like that. Okay. Okay. When is your final exam? All right. Fill up the chat. When's your final exam? When is your final exam for this class, period 3? Fill it up. Let's go. Everybody should be responding to this. When is your final exam for this class? Fill up the chat. Fill it up. Yes. Monday, May 15th, right? So Monday, May 15th, it is open for 24 hours, right? Okay, so 12 a.m. until 11:59 p.m. It is open. Okay, so 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. So 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Okay, it will close at 11:59, so make sure you're done before 11:59. Okay, it is 55 questions. You get 2 hours. It's worth 110 points, so 2 points for each one. Okay, so again, it is Monday, May 15th. It's open for 24 hours. It opens at 12 a.m. and it's open till 11:59 p.m. Okay, it's 55 questions. You get 120 minutes. Okay, so over 2 hours, and it's worth 110 points. So it's 2 points per question. And remember, that's 10% of the overall grade. So the final exam is worth 10% of the overall grade. Okay. In Canvas, I've posted this twice now. All right. And it's in the final exam module. Okay. I have review materials and also information for it. So final exam and attendance. So links to the review sheets, PowerPoint sheets, Kahoot's review game, which have like sample questions, gives you the schedule. Okay. And again, it has to be in that 24-hour period. Okay. Remember that this Friday is the last day period for all late missing work. Okay. So, and then the list of assignments that are open, available, all of these are summative. So these will all have a good impact on your grade if you turn them in complete, is right here. Okay, also in the announcement. So make sure you're checking the course announcement, because there's a lot of stuff that I post to try to keep you informed and stuff, so you don't have to remember everything off the top of your head. So any of the last 4 EverFi financial literacies, those are open. The Money Moves, those are open. And then this final project that we've worked on in class the last 2.5 weeks, right? We literally did task 1 through 14 in class. We did task 6 together. And then we went over 7 and 15 on Monday, okay, and gave you time to work. Everything has to be in by Friday. So everything's got to be in by Friday. Okay. Questions on any of these? We're doing okay? All right. Okay. So we went over senior checkout. Make sure you make that appointment with your counselors. The link is in the Canvas announcements. Remember the mandatory graduation rehearsal meeting, the link to that, it's a Google Meet, right? That's this Friday. So make sure you mark your calendar, 9 a.m. So if you have period 1 and 2, if you have finals, you're going to need to work around that. All right. I didn't make the appointment. I'm just communicating the time. All right. So, and stuff. And then we went over when your final exam is. And again, also in the announcements, one last thing I want to go over before we review, because today we're going to review and tomorrow we'll review. If you go into Canvas, go to modules and go to the final exam module, okay, right here. So this will open on Monday, but all the final exam material is also posted here, okay? So it's all posted here, times, okay? So you have access. So the final exam review document, you are allowed to use notes on your final exam, okay? And they have to be paper form though, so they cannot be electronic. So you cannot use your cell phones, you cannot use, Google searches because of, cheating, all right? So if you're found using electronic device, that's cheating, that's academic dishonesty, and you'll get the minimum grade, okay? So if you are going to use notes, then what I would do is print this, okay? So it has to be paper form. So either write your notes, or you are welcome to print the study guide and use the study guide. All right, you are welcome to use that. It has all the vocab from the semester that we've gone over in our course arcs and stuff. And a lot of times questions are based on vocab, so this can be really helpful. And then I also compiled more notes of just different things to know, okay, that I pulled from the test bank, okay? So you are welcome to print and use this. But again, any notes you're going to use, they have to be paper form. They have to be paper form. Okay. Any questions on that? Last thing I want to go over is attendance. So you're taking your exam Monday, so you're not going to come to class, right? Because you're taking attendance. I'll have my Meet open, so if you need to drop in and ask a question, I will be here, okay? But you are required to take your exam. So the exam will count for your attendance on Monday. So the question is, what do we do for attendance this last week of school? Because once you finish your exams, it's like, what are we going to do, okay? So what I did, and I went over this on Monday, I'll go over it again, and I'll post an announcement about it, is I did a final attendance week form. So you fill this out, just fill this out, and then this will count for attendance for the last week of school, okay? So fill this out. It's kind of like a scholar attendance, okay? You fill this out, and then it counts for the week of school, that last week of school, because you're finishing your exams on Tuesday, and then you're doing other things and stuff like that. So I will be in class. I'm required to be in class. So if you need anything, you can come and stuff like that. But if you fill this out, then you will be counted present for that last week of school, okay? So does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. So you will fill out this attendance form. Basically, just do it when you take your final. And that's why I put it there in the final exam module. And then that counts for attendance that last week, because I have to have record of some kind. Okay, you're welcome to come to class. I will be in class at normal times. I'll be holding the normal schedule. But I understand you are done with your stuff. Yeah, just fill them all out, Ashley. But either one is fine. But to be safe, you can just fill them out that. Yeah. I mean, it takes 2 seconds, right? It's not a big deal. But yeah, but for everybody, fill this out so that I can count you for attendance for that last week. Okay? Awesome. All right, so today we are going to review, okay, I've got a PowerPoint with multiple choice questions that are from the test bank. So it's a great opportunity just to review, take a look at some of these questions. And I also will share this PowerPoint with you. This is a separate PowerPoint that I made. And so I will share this with you when I'm done. All right, when we're done. So let's get started. So you'll just put A, B, C, or D. Okay, just take a guess. Nobody's keeping track. It's just a good way to kind of start getting familiar with some of the questions you're going to see. Participation is really nice. All right, so that I'm not pulling teeth. It's stuff that's super nice. So just quick reminders again, the exam is 55 questions. You get 120 minutes worth 110 points. Okay, one attempt. Okay, there's no retakes on it. And then you are able to use notes. Just make sure that they're paper form. Okay, so it's paper form, that you're not using any electronic devices, because that will be considered cheating. Okay, all right, let's do it. This is a hard question. This is like a double negative question. Okay, so which is not a reason for people not to set aside extra money? A, planning for an expected expense. B, lack of focus on future expenses. C, living a lifestyle beyond what they can afford. Or D, lack of financial budgeting. So basically, what would be a reason for people to set money aside? If you get rid of the double negative, it's basically asking you what would be a reason for people to put extra money aside, to set extra money aside. A, B, C, or D? What do you think? Take a guess. So if we're participating, great. If we're not participating, I'm not going to do this the whole period, because believe me, it's like pulling teeth. Okay. All right. Yep. Just put a guess. B, that's great. Let's hear some more guesses. Okay. Ashley, Lucy, thank you. Okay, we got a C. All right. It is A. Planning for an unexpected expense. Planning for an unexpected expense. I know that one is a difficult one because of the double negative. Okay, so I was trying to break it down a little bit more. So, which is not a reason for people to not set aside extra money. All right, so it's planning for unexpected expense. All right. Which of the following is not an example of a type of savings vehicle? So not like vehicle, like an actual vehicle, like a vehicle meaning like account. Okay, so a way to save money. So it's more figurative. So what would not be a good way to save money? A, a payday loan. B, a checking account. C, a money market account. Or D, certificate of deposit account. What would not be a good way to save money? Okay, so I got C. Okay, correct answer is payday loan. Payday loans are one of the worst things you can do for your credit, get yourself in trouble. They're very high interest, super high interest, some of the highest interest loans out there. So all these other ways are good ways to put away money. So let me explain through it, okay? Checking account, great way to put away money, right? It's an account, save your money. Money market account is like a better version of a savings account. So usually they have like a higher minimum that you have to have. So like maybe $1,000, $5,000. But when you have that amount, then you get a better interest return. So the more money you have in it, then the better return you get. Certificate of deposit, same thing. It's another type of investment. So the one way to not save money is definitely a payday loan. It'll get you in debt and really high interest. So do everything you can to avoid those. Or if you have to do one, try to pay it off as quickly as possible, because you can quickly get yourself in trouble. Which of the following could potentially damage your credit score? So what would you not want to do? Because remember, the goal is to have good credit when you want loans, renting, things like that. So which of the following could potentially damage your credit score? A, paying a speeding ticket. B, opening a checking account. C, opening 3 credit cards at once. D, paying back a roommate. What would not be a good choice? What do we think? So we're saying C. All right, you are correct. Yes, opening 3 credit cards at once is definitely going to hit your. So anytime you open a new account, it's going to hit your credit. So just be aware of that. But sometimes you have to do it. But if you are going to open more than 1 credit card, first of all, I don't recommend having multiple credit cards. 1, maybe 2. Like really keep it minimum. And if you're going to switch to one, then close the other. Just don't have, because someone could get that information and and stuff. So, but if you're going to open an account, do 1 at a time, and then I would wait several months, like 3 to 6 months, because anytime you open an account, it takes a hit on your credit, but you recover from it usually within a couple of months. Okay, so definitely don't do 3 at once. That's not going to be good. The term referring to the rate of yearly interest on your credit card is commonly known as A, annual percentage rate, B, certificate of deposit, C, default rate, or D, grace period. And I tell you what, there's a hint here, yearly. Yearly. So what do we think? Okay. Thank you, Lucy. Let's get a few more guesses. This one, there's definitely a hint, yearly. You guys are catching it. Good. Okay. Very good. Yes. That would be annual percentage rate, right? And annual is often another way of referring to yearly, right? So like annual budget or something like yearly budget. Okay. Good. A person can become a citizen of the United States by, so this is going to be one of those all of the above except, so on the exam, you'll be able to like click the boxes. Sorry, I didn't get that creative for our review. So this would be choose all that apply. So I'll give you a hint, it's more than one. Okay, so what are ways that people can become citizens of the United States? A, birthright, B, naturalization, C, residency, or D, right of blood. So which numbers do you think? It's more than one? And it's this question is like a choose all that apply. So they'll like let you click multiple boxes, as many as you think are correct. What do we think? How many different ways can you become a US citizen? And again, just guessing, these are great ways to guess, review. No harm in guessing. It's about, you know, the better you can do, obviously this helps your grade. Okay, it's all but residency. So it's going to be A, B, and D. Okay, so let's go through them. Birthright, that means you're born in the country. So, and most countries operate this way. If you're born within the country, that gets you citizenship. Okay, that's very, very common. Naturalization. So this would be the process of moving to a country and then applying for citizenship. So usually is many year process. I think it's about a 7-year process for us. I have a friend that lives in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and it's like a 6-year process. You have to be fluent in Danish, like all these different things. So naturalization is you move there. So you're not naturally, but you are naturalized through a process. Right of blood. So this would be common like in the military. So let's say, for instance, that you're one of your parents or both your parents are in the military and you're posted, let's say in South Korea. We have a big base in South Korea. And you are born while your parents are based in South Korea. So even though you were born in South Korea, because both of your parents are citizens of the United States, you by bloodline, right of blood, would then be a citizen. Okay, so it can happen if you're born in another country, but if one or both of your parents are from that country, then that can happen. Not all countries are like that, but our country works that way. So military is a common way we see that. When one group is treated differently than another, is that A, civil rights, B, segregation, C, discrimination, or D, civil disobedience? Okay. Take a guess. This is just one answer. Take a guess. Let's hear a few more people. Okay. It's discrimination. Discrimination. So when one group is treated differently than another, okay, is discrimination. So it's more of a general term for it. I know where some of you are coming with segregation. That's being separated, right, based on really any criteria. Historically, we've seen it because of racial divides and stuff like in schools and things like that. But generally, the different treatment of someone insinuating negative is going to be discrimination. The first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution are basic rights, or sorry, the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution are basic rights are guaranteed to A, anyone around the world, B, service in the military, C, only white landowners, or D, U.S. citizens. So who is guaranteed the rights under the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, which would be the Bill of Rights? So like that's freedom of speech, religion, right to bear arms, no excessive search and seizure, no housing, courting of soldiers, no excessive bail, right to a jury, and there's more. Okay, good. That is U.S. citizens. So if you are a resident of this country but not a citizen, you have certain rights, but you don't have as many rights as a citizen. And that is in most countries. So most countries, being a citizen of that country, you have the most protection or the most rights under the law, right? And then when you are visiting or living there but not a citizen, you often then don't have the same rights as a citizen. That's common in most countries to have kind of two different standards of rights. All right, let's keep going. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education that blank schools were unconstitutional. A, integrated schools. C, discriminating schools. C, segregated schools. Or D, migrated schools. What do we think? Keep guessing. Thank you, Lucy. Let's hear a few more guesses. Okay, Ricardo. Let's hear a few more guesses. Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. That is segregated. Okay, yes. So the separation of people, it was ruled unconstitutional. And then from that point forward, the push, it took a couple of decades into the 60s and 70s, early 70s and stuff like that, to desegregate schools, so to integrate schools, so that, and anytime you have the separating of people, right, based on, you know, criteria or something like that, that's a form of discrimination. The rights that one person has as a result of citizenship. So the rights you have or earn as a result of citizenship is A, discrimination, B, civil rights, C, civil disobedience, or D, segregation. Okay, civil rights, right? Civil rights. So this is part of like what's guaranteed in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. So you kind of have that rights, that common term. So civil rights, the things that we are guaranteed as citizens. The Eighth Amendment of the Constitution, so this will be part of the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Eighth Amendment forbids excessive bail, excessive fines, and A, felonies, B, lying under oath, C, cruel and unusual punishment, or D, self-incrimination. So let's get a few more guesses. This will be recorded, so I will repost this and I will give you the link to the PowerPoint. So if I'm moving a little bit fast, I will, this will be recorded so you could go back and review it. And I will also give you the PowerPoint. We're just trying to get through as many questions as we can. Cruel and unusual punishment, okay? So as a citizen of the United States, if you are brought in for questioning or arrested or something like that, there is still standards of treatment. So they can't punch you in the face, they can't torture you, you know, they can't they can't withhold food, you know, there's certain basic rights you have no matter what you're accused of, okay? So it could be the worst crime, serial killer, you know, the worst thing, or a bombing or something like that, but they still have to, they can't cruel and unusual punishment and stuff. So you are guaranteed certain rights. The First Amendment protects not only pure speech, so meaning verbal speech, but also A, seditious speech, C, defamatory speech, C, slanderous speech, or D, symbolic speech. And we actually talked about this when we did the court cases quite a bit. Think of what's another way you can express yourself that's not verbal. Let's get a few more guesses. Okay, great. Yeah, symbolic speech. So do you remember the court case with the youth that went to school and they were speaking out, protesting against the Vietnam War, and they got in trouble with the school when they wore the armbands, right? The black armbands with the peace signs. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And actually the Supreme Court found that they could do that. So you can't just do whatever you want in school, but they found that, you know, as long as the symbolic speech is not threatening someone, doesn't mean I have to like it. But symbolic speech could be on a shirt, it could be an armband, a hat, you know, a flag or something like that, that you have the right to symbolic speech, okay? Maybe limited in certain venues, but generally speaking, symbolic speech. According to the Hughes Court in the United States and Miller, the Second Amendment, A, allowed for any individual to own any type of gun. So remember, Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. B, does not guarantee a person the right to keep a sawed-off shotgun. C, was intended to maintain effective state militia. Or D, allows people only the right to own a sawed-off shotgun. So this is going to be one, select all that apply. So there is more than one that are true. So oftentimes what will happen is we have the amendments. We have the Constitution and we have the amendments to the Constitution. And then we'll have court cases that help us to further define what the amendments mean or interpret the amendments. And this is why the Supreme Court becomes so important, because sometimes it's open to interpretation. It's vague, so to speak. So how you interpret it, how I interpret it might be different, or how different parties interpret that. So that's why the courts are important, because they help then to kind of set precedents. And so, for example, like the kids wearing the armband, you know, was that allowed or not? So, well, some said yes under speech, some said no. And so the courts had to decide. Guns is another one. So you would pick more than one. Yeah, so it's more than one. So it'll be like, so sorry, it's hard for me to do in the PowerPoint, but it'll be boxes and you can check. So it'll say check all that apply. Okay, so this one is both does not guarantee a person the right to keep a sawed-off shotgun and was intended to maintain effective state militia. So here's what kind of this means. Okay, let me break it down a little bit simpler. So the Second Amendment says guarantees you the right to bear arms. So it guarantees the right of guns, so to speak, right? When they say bear arms, they're meaning guns. But it doesn't say how many, how you get them, what type, like, right? It's not specific. So some people interpret that as anything goes, and then others say no, only under very specific circumstances. So that's why state to state, you'll actually see a bit of differences. So certain states, you aren't allowed to own certain guns. So there's more regulation than others. Every state's a little different what it takes to apply for a gun. So maybe what kind of background check you have to go through. Is there a waiting period? How often you can buy a gun? What kind of capacity the gun can have? When and if you can carry a gun. So every state is a little bit different. So just because you're guaranteed the right to bear arms isn't mean it's universal. It depends on the state, and they're going to have different regulations that you have to follow. So generally you have a right, but every state is different how that's enforced and to what extent. Parliament and Congress, they are similar government structures in that. So Parliament's talking about England, and then Congress is talking about us. So both have this elected body, okay? In Parliament, it's the House of Lords, the House of Commons. For us in Congress, it's the House of Representatives and the Senate, okay? So how are these two government structures similar? A, each is a bicameral legislature. B, the people elected represented in both houses within the legislative body. C, each body has the same number of people. Or D, the president and prime minister, which is England's version of like a president, are selected by the legislature. So what do both bodies have in common, Parliament and Congress? And we did talk about this when we did government structures lesson. I think it was like end of third quarter, because this is for all of the semester. So I know some of you are like, this is going too far back. This is why it's good to review. This is really why it's super important to review and see these sample questions, because these are from the test bank. So you will see some of these questions that I pulled. You will definitely see them. Each is a bicameral legislature. Okay, so that means there are two bodies. So in Parliament, House of Lords, House of Commons, and then for us, House of Representatives, which is 435 members, right, depending on the population of your state, and then the Senate, which is 2 members per state, and stuff across the board, so 100. So total, we have 535 between the House and the Senate, okay, but both are bicameral, meaning they have 2 bodies within their legislative branch. Are we having fun yet? All right. The ultimate source of law, not the Constitution or court interpretation of law. So this is referencing England. Okay, this is referencing England. So the ultimate source of law, not the Constitution or court to interpret the law, is what in England? Is it parliamentary sovereignty? Is it theocracy, the Commonwealth, or the monarchy? Who has the ultimate authority? So remember, monarch, that's like a king or a queen. Do they have authority in England? I know we had a coronation this weekend. Do they have actual authority, or are they symbolic? Think about that for a second. In England. So it's going to be parliamentary sovereignty. Okay, so that means within Parliament and the Prime Minister, they can make changes to laws within the Constitution. So it's basically opposite of what we are. So we have our Constitution, and the Constitution is the highest law of the land. And our government, our president, and our legislative branch have to work under the guidance of the Constitution. And when they get out of line, right, that's why we have the judicial branch to interpret and kind of get them back in line. In England, it's basically opposite. Parliament is above all. and they have a constitution and laws, but Parliament can change the constitution and laws at any time. So there's pros and cons to both. Our constitution is very hard to change. So that does mean, yes, change is hard, but it helps us to become more stable whenever we experience extremes. So if we experience a leader that's like very far right or very far left, it limits that extreme power and kind of keeps us a little bit more moderate and consistent. But it does make change harder. Opposite is true in England. Because Parliament can change anything at any time, you see huge shifts and waves politically in England, which is great because, yay, we can create change. But what if that change isn't necessarily good? So it can also create a lot of instability. So there's pros and cons to both systems. A sovereign head of state usually inherits through family lineage. What do we call that? So if you watch the coronation this weekend, this would be a good reference of that, okay? So of England. So a sovereign head of state usually inherits through line of lineage. Is that a monarchy, a republic, a theocracy, or parliamentary sovereignty? That is going to be a monarch. Okay, that's going to be a monarch. So just because a country has a monarch doesn't mean they have power. In fact, most countries, a lot of Europe, a lot of Asia, they have monarchs, but they don't actually yield power anymore. They did historically, but now they're a symbolic figure. Okay, so it's just kind of like keeping the history alive, but their representative body has the power now. There are a few exceptions in maybe parts of Africa or the Middle East where you do have a sovereign who it's inherited, okay, that has absolute power, but they are definitely the exception, not the rule anymore. A person considered to be important because of high rank of office. So this is kind of a general term, okay? This is kind of a general term. So kind of think about that for a second. A person considered important because of their high rank of office. This is like a general term you would use to refer to anyone in a high rank of office. Is that foreign affairs, right of legation, ambassador, or dignitary? Get a few guesses. What do we think? If you can narrow it down to 2, that's great. And then 50-50 chance. And again, I'm not keeping track of score. Just good to guess. It's good for you to kind of see what you think. Okay, it is dignitary. So ambassador is when you are, so most people have been guessing today ambassador or dignitary. So ambassador is specifically when you are assigned to another country and you are an ambassador for the US. So you're an ambassador for US in, and pick a country, okay? And you actually go live there and you help to communicate with that country on behalf of our government or through our government, okay? Dignitary is more of a general term, okay, for a high-ranking official. So it could be an ambassador, but it could be a number of high-ranking positions, okay? So dignitary is kind of a more general term. The United States has maintained a policy of preemptive war since September 11, 2001 to protect the country from anyone posing a threat. Preemptive war means, so this is where knowing your vocab is really helpful, or printing off those notes and having that vocab is going to be helpful when you take your test, okay? Is it A, a war online via social media? B, a war within our own country? C, pre-plan a war with another country? Or D, the ability to strike first on another country? So what is preemptive war? What do we think? I've got a D, I've got C. Okay. So it is the ability to strike another country first, basically. Okay. So what we do is our military is definitely built up, and we've talked about how our military spending compares to other countries. We far exceed other countries. And part of that is we have this idea that our goal is obviously as much as possible to avoid war, but by being ready for war, one of two things. We hope to intimidate, to kind of say, don't push me. You know what I mean? Like, I mean business, look at what I mean, look at our military. But also, if we have to strike, that we can strike first. And part of the problem we had in like World War I, World War II is we weren't ready for war. And it took us anywhere 8 months to a year to actually go to war. Well, by then, a lot of damage can be done, or a lot of time can go by, or things can get worse and stuff. So since then, since 9/11, we've kind of taken this attitude of we're going to be ready, so that if and when something were to happen, we could act right away and hopefully minimize what's happening, but also kind of intimidate and hope that people won't go there. All right, this one's going to require a little bit of math, but we talked about this opportunity cost. So think about this for a second. It takes you half an hour to do a math assignment. So 30 minutes to do one math assignment. and 2 hours to do an English assignment. So 30 minutes, 1 math assignment, 2 hours, 1 English assignment. What is the opportunity cost of you doing 2 math assignments? Okay, so 2 math assignments, that would be 1 hour. So basically you're trying to equate how much of an English assignment would you get done in 1 hour? If I can get 2 math assignments done in an hour, how much would that equal in English? What would be the opportunity cost, the trade-off? Is it A, 1 English assignment, B, 1/4 of an English assignment, C, 2 English assignments, or D, half an English assignment? This is where you got to do a little bit of math or a little bit of, you know, math / just kind of. All right. Yeah. And today my answers have kind of been all over the board. So if 1 math assignment is 30 minutes, 2 math assignments, then it's going to be 1 hour, right? It takes me 2 hours to do an English assignment. So 2 hours, 1 English assignment. So half that, 1 hour, would equal half an English assignment, right? If it takes me 2 hours to do 1 English assignment, if I only have 1 hour, I'm only going to get half of it done, right? Because you divide it. Does that make sense? So I know it's a little tricky, but you gotta, if you just kind of slow down and you kind of like do the math a little bit, then you can figure them out. Okay. Okay. Which of the following best describes U.S. free enterprise system? So this has to do with economics and trade. Okay. So economics, business ownership, and trade. So which of the following best describes the idea that the U.S. is a free enterprise system? This is kind of a big picture question. A, government provision of free services to those in need. B, individual or corporate ownership of capital goods. C, free trade with markets open without restrictions to foreign goods. Or D, very heavy government regulation of businesses. So what would be considered a free enterprise statement? A, B, C, or D? Okay, I got B, Lucy, thank you. Let's hear a few more. B, Ashley, okay. Awesome, let's get a few more guesses. What do we think? Individual or corporate ownership of capital goods. So very good to both of you. All right, good guess. Yes. So this is the ability to own parts of economics, okay? To maybe own my own business or to own a house or to own a car, like to have individual ownership. Or a corporation, which usually starts as a small business, right? And then gets bought out by somebody else, but separate from the government. So free of the government, okay? So when you hear free, think less government. Free or in economics, okay? Free is free and like, oh, I can just take it. But when you're talking about economics and trade, think free means lack of or less government involvement. All right, let's do a few more. Or do you guys want to do more, or do you want to just, the last 10 minutes, do you want to work on assignments? I have probably another 15 to 20 questions. So we wouldn't get through all of them. So give me a thumbs up if you want to do more, thumbs down if you would prefer to just have some time to work. You're kind of burnt out. I don't care either way. This is not my final, so I'm down with whatever you guys want to do. Do more? Okay, I will take everyone else's silence as we'll just do more. All right, that works. All right, I inserted them throughout just to try to make it a little more interesting because it's like question after question, and there's only really like 30 questions in this PowerPoint, but you know, they take a while to get through. Which condition would lead to higher prices? So think about this. What leads to higher prices of goods? A, low supply, low demand. B, high supply, low demand. C, high supply, high demand. D, low supply, high demand. So think about that for a second. What's going to cause higher prices? Which scenario? So it's all about supply demand, but what's the right combination? Great, you guys are on this. That's awesome. Okay, low supply, so I don't have a lot, which is going to create with high demand. So let's say like gaming systems are a great example, right? Whenever new gaming systems come out, there's always a shortage and everybody's like, you know. So let's say I had 1,000 game systems, but I had 10,000 people that wanted them, right? Low supply, high demand, that's going to drive the price up. I can ask more for the product because there's not enough to go around. You know what I mean? So it drives up prices. Whenever there's a shortage, it often can drive up prices. A hurricane hits Florida and destroys half the orange crop. This happens yearly, right? We have natural disasters come through, we have drought, bad crop season, and some kind of fruit, vegetable, or meat item or food item that is scarce. So what would most likely happen to the orange market? So what happens when you have a scarcity of a product, okay? A, the price of oranges will fall. B, the price of oranges will increase. C, the supply of oranges will increase. Or D, the demand for oranges will rise. So it kind of builds off the last one. So we'll see this sometimes when an industry is in danger, you know, or shortage or having a hard time. Think about eggs right now. It's getting a little better, but it's still kind of, Okay, great. Yes, the price of oranges will increase because people want oranges, but if you only have half the normal supply, that's going to really hurt your supply and it's going to drive up the price of oranges. How badly do you want them? A lot of us will be like, oh, I'm okay. But if you love oranges, you'll probably go for it. In general, the price of goods and services goes up. What happens to the demand for those goods and services? So in general, if the price of goods and services go up, so this is kind of an economic trend that we've talked about, okay? In general, if the price of goods and services go up, what's going to happen to the demand of that good or service over time? A, demand goes up. B, demand stays the same. C, none of the above. Or D, demand goes down. What will happen over time? Generally speaking. So that's going to be demand goes down. So usually if something just gets more and more and more expensive, people will start to drop out, so to speak. Okay. It's like, well, at this price I was here, but now this is just a little too, I don't want it that much. And I drop out and other people. So in general, when the price of goods and services keeps going up, people will slowly disengage and it will drive the demand down. Which of the following is not a form of technological progress that aids economic growth? Okay, so we talked about this specifically, and this can also help with vocab, okay? So which of the following is not a form of technological progress that aids economic growth, okay? A, underemployment. B, scientific research. C, innovation. D, education and experience. So which is not going to help economic growth? What's not going to help our economy? Okay. Good guesses. Any more guesses? Yeah, it's A, underemployment, right? So obviously research helps economic growth with new discoveries, right? Innovation, so that, same idea, of new energy sources or designs or programs or computer, all that kind of stuff, technology. Education experience helps economic growth. Underemployment doesn't. So for example, I'll use myself as an example. So I have a master's degree in education, so I'm specialized in education, right? Dedicated, prepared to do that. But if I am flipping burgers, that doesn't mean that I'm not good at that, but that's not necessarily a high skill set. So I'm underutilizing my skills. I'm underemployed for what I'm qualified for. So if you specialize in something, you have experience in something, but you do something kind of general, like entry level, that kind of anybody can do if they're trained, then you are not utilizing yourself. And that doesn't help economic growth. It helps when people utilize their skills in their area, and that collective helps the economy move forward. Okay, we'll do two more. Which of the following is a tax on an imported good? Okay, so this we talked about, and this again is looking at those vocab words. So that's where having those notes could be helpful. So I encourage you to print them before the exam on Monday. Okay, so which of the following is a tax on imported goods? A, gift tax. B, excess tax. B, tariff. Or C, estate tax. Okay, so I got a B guess. Any more guesses? This term is specifically for taxes on goods coming in and leaving the country. And that's going to be tariff. Tariff. Okay. So tariff is anytime there's a tax on goods coming. So think it's foreign trade. So tariff is the term used for foreign trade, anything outside the country. So anytime we trade something in or out of Mexico or in and out of Canada, if there's a tax on that, why are there two A's? Was there two A's? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I don't know, because I just probably entered it wrong. So it should be ABC. So it should be C. Sorry about that. Tariff. Okay, yeah. So tariff is the correct answer. Tariff's the correct answer. All right, last one. What type of tax takes a higher percentage of income from poorer people than from wealthier people? So this is something we talked about. We talked about different ways of taxing people or tax systems. So this one can be a little bit confusing, but this is really good to go back and review vocab, because there definitely could be some questions based on these. Okay, so what type of tax takes a higher percentage of income? So it's based on percentage, okay? So it could be the same amount, but different percentage or higher percentage. So what type of tax takes a higher percentage of income from a poorer people than from wealthier people? A, excise tax, B, progressive tax, C, proportional tax, or D, regressive tax? Yes, it is D, okay, regressive tax, okay? We got time. We'll do what this will be the last one. Which of the following situations would result in a government budget deficit? We're seeing budget issues right now in the government with our debt ceiling and stuff. So which of the following situations would result in a government budget deficit? A, Federal Reserve borrows more than it lends. B, the Federal Reserve lends more than it borrows. C, the government spends more than it collects in taxes. Or D, the government spends the same as it collects in taxes. All right. Yep. You guys are seeing this. And this was basically task 15, right? The last part of our project, when you spend more than you get. So the government source of income is us. So whenever people say, I want the government to give me something free, what that means is that they're taking tax money. Nothing is free, right? We pay for it through taxes. So the more the government does for us, the more we pay in taxes. So the government spends more than it collects in taxes, meaning spending more than it makes. Okay. And remember when we were talking about budgeting, how you had to have zero or a positive number. Having a negative number doesn't work because you'll just go in debt. We have been in a deficit since World War II. And unfortunately, we just can't seem to balance. And that's both sides, right and left, Democrats and Republicans. They just don't balance the budget. Some are worse than others. Some spend more than others, but our debt just keeps going and going and going. And it's definitely a little nerve wracking. It's like, where is this going to go? How's this going to end? And I don't know, like, what's the limit, you know? Okay. I am going to give you the link to this PowerPoint. All right. And so if you want to do the rest of the questions, you're welcome to do that. Here is the link to that PowerPoint. Okay, that I just did with you for review. So it's just got more questions on it. So you can go back and use it more, or if you want to review. I think we got through like slide 57 or 58, and there's like 75 slides. So there's probably another 10 to 15 questions that we didn't get over that you're welcome to do. Okay, so remember, all these review materials are linked in the Canvas announcement and in the finals Canvas module. Okay, so all this stuff is linked and I've given it to you. And then I put a bunch of them in the chat today. So remember that your final exam is on Monday. Okay, tomorrow we'll do Kahoots game. It's the same thing, just reviewing more questions, different questions, but more questions from the test bank just to help you review. And so we'll do Kahoots game. And then remember, Friday's the last day to turn in any assignments. Okay, so keep working on those things, getting those in. Okay, have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, I'll stay behind. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you, David. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Addison. Thank you, Tyreek.